Hi, I'm Kate. I'm a Learning Lab specialist at Gwinnett County Public Library, and today I'm going to show you how to get started using Easel, a free browser-based design software specifically for CNC machines. CNC means Computer Numerical Control. The designs we make in Easel and other CNC design softwares are translated by a computer into the coordinates of a graph, and they control the movement of the cutter. Some examples of CNC tools include lathes, mills, routers, and grinders. Here at the library, we are typically designing for either the Carvey or the X-Carve, which are available for you to use in our learning labs. Both of these machines are computerized routers, which means they use drill bits to carve out designs in a variety of materials. To get an idea of the wide variety of projects you can create using these machines, take a look at these examples on the inventables.com/projects webpage. Carvey and X-Carve make it possible to create custom designs out of wood, plastic, wax, foam, metal, and more. But all of these amazing projects started with a design, and that is what we're going to talk about today. The first thing you're going to need is a free account with Inventables. Go to inventables.com and click the login button at the top of the screen. If you don't have an account, choose New Customer and fill out the account information. And then once it's set up, you can click on Easel at the top of the page and then explore Easel and sign in through Inventables. Now you're ready to start designing. Click the green New Project button. This white rectangular grid you see on the left of the screen is where you will be designing. Let's create a personalized nameplate just to learn about the basic tools in Easel. Select the Text tool and start off with a large chunky font, and we'll explain more about this later. Click into the text box and type in whatever you would like it to say. The Shape Control panel allows you to adjust the X and Y position. Let's say you want this word to start 3 inches in from the left edge of your material. You would simply enter 3 inches on the X-axis, and we'll leave it at 1 inch on the Y-axis. You can also adjust the size of the design element that you have selected. Let's say we want this to be about twice as big as it is now. It's 2.4, so let's write in 4.8 inches. And you'll notice it appears as though it has been stretched out and distorted. If you want to play around with resizing your design elements without losing the aspect ratio, go ahead and click this little padlock, and that's going to maintain the relationship between the width and the height. Now you can see I did that when it was already stretched out, so I am just going to hit undo, Command Z or Control Z on a PC a couple of times until it gets back to the original, and then I'm going to make sure I have that padlock clicked, and I'm going to put in 4.8. and you'll see that the height automatically updated. We can also rotate it to any rotation you want. We're going to leave it at 0 for this one. And you can adjust the font. Let's take a look at Vimeo. Now these are all the fonts that are preloaded into Easel. If you upgrade to a paid account, it does give you the ability to add fonts from your computer. But if you don't want to do that, if you just want to use the free version, it offers you this selection of fonts. When you have a design element selected, you can use the Cut control panel to adjust the depth of cut that is associated with that particular design element. So you can see as we lower this slider bar, it gets deeper and deeper on the preview screen. We don't want it to cut all the way through. I'm going to keep it at about 1/4 of an inch. I think that looks pretty good. I can also adjust the path that the drill bit is going to take as it cuts out the design. And I'll just show you an example of how these can change depending on which one you select. It's important to keep in mind that ultimately your design is going to be carved out with a drill bit. So you can't have any parts of your design that are smaller than the diameter of the bit that you're going to be using. And this does come up a lot when you're talking about words and fonts. If you take a look at this font, it has some very thin parts to it. And if you see over in the preview screen, it's telling us that all of those thin elements of the font are not going to be carved because the bit that we have selected is too thick to do that. That's one of the reasons why we recommend when you're just starting off and you want to use font, stick with something that's relatively large and blocky until you get the hang of what the machine's limits are. Now over here on the preview screen on the right half of the window, you can click and drag to rotate and get a better idea of what your design is actually going to look at, and you can also zoom in and out with the scroll wheel. Let's click on bit at the top of the screen and change it to a smaller bit to see how that impacts our design and what we're able to do. We'll change it to a 1/16 inch bit. Now let's go back and look at some of these thinner fonts and see if any of them are going to work out. And you can see it actually is able to drill a lot more of the design than that original 1/8 inch bit. Now, believe it or not, you are almost ready to carve your nameplate. Let's look at the material settings. Birch plywood is the default that you're going to see whenever you open up Easel. However, there are many others that Carvey and X-Carve can handle, from a variety of hardwoods to plastics, aluminum, corian, and more. The materials you see in this list all have presets in the Easel software which tell the machine exactly what type of bit, the feed rate, the plunge rate, the depth per pass, that's ideal for that material. You can also develop your own custom cut settings for other types of materials, although it's important to know that going through the process to come up with accurate settings does require some trial and error, so it's important to have plenty of extra material to experiment on if that's something you're interested in doing. If you're new to CNC and Easel, it's probably best to do your first few carves with the standard materials that have the presets ready to go. Now, I think this looks a bit awkward for a nameplate. I think a lot of the material needs to go away so that it's a bit more of a streamlined design. So what I'm going to do to achieve that is go to my Shapes button, and I'm going to choose a square, and I am going to resize the square using the handles on the shape to completely cover up my name. I'm going to click and drag across both of those design elements so that I have both of them selected, and I'm going to center them vertically. Now, it's not looking the way that I want, obviously. There's no name in there. So what I need to do is change the cut settings for the rectangle. So I'm going to select the rectangle. I'm going to go to the Cut Control panel. I am going to tell Easel to cut on the path. That's starting to look more like it, but this cut is only about between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch deep. I need it to cut completely through this piece of plywood, so I'm going to increase the depth of the cut all the way to the bottom. Now I'm going to look on my preview and I can see that it is cutting all the way through. Now you may have noticed this Use Tabs selection that appeared. It has to do with these little yellow highlights that are showing on my design. If you decide to use tabs, what it's going to do is it's going to leave a tiny piece of wood at the very bottom of the cut, connecting the nameplate to the larger piece of material. The reason you would want to do this in some instances is that it helps keep the entire design stable while the machine is cutting it out. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the tabs there. And it doesn't show tabs on the preview, but rest assured they will be there when you cut it out. Now I actually don't have any birch plywood today, but I do have a piece of 2-color HDPE that was purchased from Inventables. It's a type of hard plastic that has a contrast color on the inside, which is great for signs and other graphic designs that need high visibility. This piece of material is 1/4 of an inch thick, which I just confirmed with the digital caliper here in the Learning Lab, so I'll need to adjust the dimensions in Easel to match. This window that pops up is basically telling me that I need to adjust the cut depths of my design elements over here first. So I'm going to go back to the Cut Control panel, and the preset for 2-color HDPE actually gives you a visual representation of the thickness of each color. So as long as the cut depth on the text is deep enough to reach that inner color, it really doesn't need to be any deeper than that. The rectangle outline needs to be exactly as deep as the thickness of my material so that the bit will cut through completely. And now we can see in the preview pane that our image has updated to match our new material and dimension settings. Before we finalize the design, there is something I want to show you. Choosing the right bit will make or break the success of your carve. Drill bits can be more delicate than you might think, and in order to prevent either bits from breaking or tearing up your material, you need to match your bit to your material. Easel makes this easier with this bit and material settings link in the bit menu. It opens up a cheat sheet that is an excellent reference and tells you what the appropriate bit is for the particular material you plan to carve. Carvey and X-Carve have color-coded bits, so it's even easy for people brand new to CNC design to identify which bit they need. As you know, our material is HDPE, and we could choose any of these bits with a green check mark. But since we're carving some lettering, and fonts tend to have sharper corners and some thinner elements, we're going to use the 1/16 inch bit, which is available as an upcut fishtail with a blue collar. Now that we're done adjusting the material, bit, and cut settings, click on the green Carve button. It will walk us through a variety of last-minute troubleshooting questions, and we can confirm that everything is ready to go. Alternately, if you're preparing your design from home and you just need to save your design file until you're able to come into the Learning Lab to use the machine, your design is actually automatically saved in your Easel profile until you're ready to carve. One of the benefits of this software being entirely browser-based is that you don't need to bring your home computer or a portable drive to the library. You can just sign into your Easel account from one of the computers already in the Learning Lab to access and carve your design. If you would like assistance using the Carvey or X-Carve, you can schedule an appointment with a Learning Lab specialist who will walk you through how to choose and change bits, how to securely clamp your material to the machine, and other hands-on skills. Simply go to our website, gwinnettpl.org, and click on the Book a Librarian link. All of the equipment and software available in the Learning Labs, including Carvey and X-Carve, are free for library card holders to use for their personal creative projects. We keep a variety of bits on hand for the CNC machines, which customers are welcome to use. If your design requires a bit that we don't have, you can also purchase your own bits directly from the Inventables site and bring them with you whenever you carve. You will also need to bring in your project material. It is recommended that all materials to be carved on the library's CNC machines be purchased from the Inventables shop. The reason for this is that there are some types of wood, plastic, and metal that can be hazardous to our health if they're milled, releasing toxic particles or fumes into the air. I hope this video was helpful and that you now have the tools you need to get started creating some amazing CNC designs. If you have questions, you can always reach out to us at learninglabs@gwinnettpl.org. Thanks for watching.